Hi, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and today we're going to discuss 10 dating tips for widows and widowers. This is a great resource if you happen to be widowed and dating again, but also if you're dating a widowed person. No matter what side of the table you're on, it seems, dating a widow, whether you're widowed yourself or dating a widow or widower, it can be kind of an awkward and strange experience. There's no really written rules. And so the purpose of these tips is to go ahead and help both sides, whether you're a widowed or dating a widow person, successfully navigate the dating waters and add some clarity to what can be a oftentimes confusing and crazy situation. So without further ado, here we go. Tip number one: when you decide to date again is up to you. There's no specific time frame when a person should actually go out and date again. I know there's lots of, conventional wisdom or maybe old wives' tales out there that say you need to wait a year before, after losing a spouse, before you date again. Now, certainly, I would avoid making any big or major decisions within that first year of losing a spouse, but I don't think that necessarily applies to dating. I think if I know people that have dated within weeks of losing a spouse, and some that have waited years, before dating again. And there's no right or wrong reason for this. Widowers tend to date sooner than widows, but really it's just kind of when you decide it's right for you. In my case, I started dating 5 months after my late wife died. Was it too soon? I know I had lots of friends and family that probably thought that it was and were wondering what I was doing. But for me, I was at least ready to go out and test the dating waters, and I think it was a good experience for me. And it took a few dates to get a hang of things, but I don't have any regrets about dating that soon. Looking back on it, I'm glad I dated when I dated. I wish I would have known some of these rules that I'm about to discuss, but again, you've got to date when you think you're ready to date, and it just has to be a personal decision that you do. So don't let anyone out there say it's too soon or too late or wonder what you're doing. It really is a personal decision, but it is one I'd probably put some thought into instead of just walking out there and doing it, no matter where you are, and no matter how long it's been since you lost a spouse. Now, the second tip is to be honest with yourself and those you're dating about why you're dating again. Especially with a widower, sometimes they just have this desire to go out there and start dating again. Maybe they're lonely or want company, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think you need to be honest with yourself and with those you're dating about why it is that you're dating again. Especially if you're a new widow or widower. I know a lot of people are probably wondering, wow, it's only been 6 months since your spouse died. Are you really ready to date again? And I think it's fine to tell that people that, look, you're new to this thing, you're just testing the dating waters, and maybe you're not looking for a serious relationship at this time. You're just trying to even see if dating something that is right for you. And maybe it is. Maybe you are ready to look for a serious relationship. But no matter what it is, I think you need to be honest with the person that you're dating about what your intentions are and maybe where you are in the a grieving process. And I think to those who are dating widows or widowers, the same goes for them. The same goes for you. It's okay to go out. It's okay to date a widowed person who maybe is unsure what they want, because I think when widowers and widows start dating again, nobody is really sure what they want. A lot of times they're testing the dating waters, and that's fine. Go ahead and let them test. Maybe they'll decide that it's a great experience and it can lead to something more serious. But just be understanding that if they say they're not looking for a serious relationship and are just trying to figure things out, there's nothing wrong with that. What you got to appreciate there is the honesty and their candor with you about why it is that they're dating again. Now, the third dating tip is that it's okay to feel guilty at first. I don't know a widow or a widower who has gone out to the dating scene and not felt some level of guilt, like they were cheating on their spouse, or maybe it was too early, or I don't know. There's a whole bunch of guilty feelings that widows and widowers can have. I know that when I started dating again, I felt like I was cheating on my late wife, Krista. And it lasted probably the first 2 or 3 dates that I went on with different people. I can remember sitting in a restaurant specifically, sitting there, and every time somebody would walk in that part of the restaurant, I kind of glance up at them like, whoa, do I know you? do? Are you going to see me sitting here with this woman who's not my wife? And just kind of weird, guilty feelings. But again, I think feeling guilty is fine and normal. And so again, if you're sitting on the other side of the table from a widow or widower and they say they feel guilty about doing this, realize that's okay, at least at first. Now, if the feelings of guilt persist, and you find that you're dating or getting into a serious relationship and you're still feeling guilty, that's not good. It's a red flag. You shouldn't be getting into a serious relationship when you feel guilty. This is why, again, I recommend to widows and widowers they actually go out and date quite a bit when they're ready to date again. Date a bunch of different people. Just go out there and just try to get their dating leads back, because part of that is dealing with the guilt and all the feelings, all the strange, weird feelings that come with that. So again, if you feel guilty, there's nothing wrong with that unless you're dating a bunch or have been dating a while or getting into a serious relationship and that guilt won't go away. If the guilt won't go away, you're not ready to date again. Now, if you're dating a widowed person and they tell you they feel guilty about dating again, not necessarily a red flag if they're new to the dating game or maybe this is their first date with you. But it is a red flag if you're trying to get serious with a widow or widower and they still say they feel guilty about dating again. No good. Shouldn't happen. So these feelings of guilt should subside. If they don't, probably not ready to date again. Best thing you can do is maybe pull back for a little bit and kind of go from there. But again, feeling guilty is natural at first, but if it doesn't fade away, you're not ready for the dating game. All right, tip number 4. It's okay to talk about the deceased spouse, but just don't overdo it. One of the tricky things people have is how much can they talk about their deceased spouse, and on the other side, it's like, well, can I ask questions about their late husband or wife because maybe you want to know a little bit about that person. So it's okay to go out and actually talk a little bit about your late spouse. If you want to just say, hey, I was married for so long and, whatever, we have X number of kids and, some basic facts. And this is like on a first date. It's fine. And it's fine to bring up stories, again, on occasion. But the trick is to find a balance, not overdo it. The purpose of dating isn't to talk about your past and to discuss history, your relationship history, so to speak, on either side of the table. It's really about getting to know each other and finding out if you are both compatible with each other. So again, I think there's an appropriate amount you can talk about the late spouse. And I think if you're dating a widow or widower and have questions about their late spouse, again, go ahead and ask those questions. But it's a red flag if the widowed person keeps talking about their deceased spouse and they can't find time to think about or focus on you. That's a red flag in my opinion. So it's just about finding that healthy balance. And for those who are dating widowed or widowed people, I would also say that not expecting them never to talk about their late spouse is an unrealistic expectation. Again, we all have a past to some extent, and when you're widowed or widowed, that husband or wife is like a big part of your past, and they're going to and just try to be understanding that they're trying to work through this whole dating thing as well. So it's just, again, it's about finding that healthy balance. But the majority of a date or spending time with someone should be focused on that other person and not necessarily on the past or that spouse. So tip number 5, your date is not your therapist. Now, I don't think anyone likes going out with somebody who's constantly talking about issues that they're having. Keep in mind that dating isn't a therapy session. You're not there to find someone who can understand, your grief or something like that. You're, again, dating, if you're doing it right, is supposed to be about, understanding this new person you're with and seeing if there's if there's compatibility or some kind of match. And, if you enjoy spending time with in their company. But you shouldn't be using your date just to talk about all these issues that you're having. So if you're a widow or widower, just keep that in mind. Again, I think it's okay to mention that, hey, for example, hey, I'm newly widowed. This is an awkward thing for me. I haven't dated much, so, please be patient with me. I think it's okay. But sitting there and talking about, how much you love your late spouse, how much you miss them, is not appropriate. And again, if you need a therapy session, go find a therapist, go find a relationship coach, go find a best friend or somebody to actually talk to about it. Don't do it with your date. Now, if you're dating a widow or widower, understand that if you feel like these dates are therapy sessions, they probably are. So then that person's probably not ready for a serious relationship. So don't feel like you have to sit there and just kind of take, the that you have to basically be there and be that person's therapist. Understand there's a healthy boundary there, and it's okay if they say, look, I have some issues and I'm trying to work through these. This is whatever. I'm new to dating. This is a new experience for me. Again, that's fine. What you want to avoid is, you're going out and spending time with each other, and it turns into whatever, a 2, 3, 4 hour therapy session. That's not the reason that you're there. It's not the reason that you're dating. So it's okay to not date people who, whether widowed or otherwise, want to turn these dates into therapy sessions. Make the dates about you. Make the time spent together about you guys and getting to know each other better. And that will make it a lot easier. All right, these are the first 5 dating tips for widows and widowers. I will have tips 6 through 10 on my next Widower Wednesday video. If you want to share some stories or have some awkward moments about dating a widow or widower, no matter what side of the table you're on, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like or subscribe as well. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and I'll see you next Wednesday.